Today we are looking at the axis of symmetry and the vertex. So there are a few ways that we can find the axis of symmetry. We can find it graphically. We can also find it by doing an equation. So one thing I want you to know is that the equation for the axis of symmetry is x is equal to negative b divided by 2a. So the a and the b comes from the quadratic function ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. So just remember that if you were given a equation or a function ax squared plus bx plus c, you would get the variables for a and b of the function to put into to substitute into the equation. The vertex is on the axis of symmetry. The vertex is the peak or the lowest point, just depends on how the graph looks, but it is the tip of the curve that the axis goes straight through. So if you look at this graph, it shows you that the line of symmetry is in blue, and then the vertex is that peak that I'm now highlighting in a dark red. All right. So with the axis of symmetry, it is going to be directly in the middle. So we've talked about having a line of symmetry through like a piece of paper or different types of shapes like a circle, a triangle, a square, where if you had like a regular piece of notebook paper and you fold it down the middle and it's equal on both sides, then that means that middle slit that you folded it on will be the axis of symmetry or the line of symmetry. All right. So that's typically or type the same thing as far as this graph is concerned with the parabola. If you were to take this parabola and fold it down the middle, that would be the axis of symmetry. Another thing is that each point on a quadratic graph, which is the parabola, will have a mirror image with the same y coordinate that is equal distance or equal distance from the axis of symmetry. All right. So if you look at this, for example, they already have two coordinates here, which is 0, comma 5, and we have 6, comma 5. All right. So they're saying that the axis of symmetry is going to be the distance between these two coordinates. So they have the exact same y coordinate, just two different x coordinates. So how would I find what the axis of symmetry is if I only have points? Well, you would basically see what the difference is between 6 and 0, right? So there are 6 points between 6 and 0. So I would write the numbers down and say I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I would count backwards. I know that 6 divided by um, 2 is 3. So you could do it that way and say, well, it'll be 3. Or I can count and say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I met in the middle. So my axis of symmetry would be um, x is equal to 3, right? And if you look here, you see that the axis of symmetry is going through the x coordinate at 3. So you could have taken your x values and counted pretty much, okay? So if I had another set of coordinates, if I have um 3 comma 9, okay, and we can say 8 comma 9, right? Then that means we would need to know what's the in between for those. So I would say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And I would just strike out. You could strike them out and say that's 1, 2, 1, 2. And that means my axis to symmetry would be between 5 and 6. So it'd be like 5.5. Okay. So it's directly in the middle. It's kind of like a balancing act. All right. We could also find the axis of symmetry by using um, an equation or a quadratic equation and using our formula. okay, and using the formula. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So if I have y equals x squared plus 2x minus 8, okay, and I want to find my axis of symmetry, I would take this equation, x is equal to negative b over 2a, all right? My b in this case is 2, so I'm going to say x is equal to 2 over, and it's negative 2 over 2 times a, which in this case is a invisible 1. All right, so negative 2, and then we do order of operations. So 2 times 2 is 2. Negative 2 over 2 equals to negative 1. So that means my axis of symmetry will be x is equal to negative 1. And if I ask you to write it as an equation, that's what you would say here. X is equal to negative 1. All right. And then as far as finding the vertex of that function, you would and so the vertex or the x coordinate of the vertex would be um, x is equal to negative 1 as well. So the line of symmetry, if x equals to negative 1 was the line of symmetry for our graph. So say if we had a graph like this, and I would say the x equals to negative 1, meaning my line of symmetry is going to go through negative 1. That means my x coordinate for the vertex will also be negative 1, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the coordinates for the vertex, but we're only asking you for the x coordinate of the vertex, which in this case would be negative 1.